Alright, hello fellas. I was just played this game this afternoon, and I wanted to record it and show it to you guys because I think it is one, I played well and I just want to brag about it, but I played in such a way I was able to demonstrate several things that I've been talking about to you guys. And I think seeing an example of it happening in play will help you. So, I am playing my British mechanized deck, as you can see on screen. Lots of infantry. Uh, I have really been liking playing British recently. I am specifically bringing it to Gulf because it has these two big towns, or actually these three towns, so having lots of infantry to fight in those towns is useful. As well as these forests, you end up with a lot of infantry fighting, and the mechanized deck of cheap infantry with good fire support really complements this area. Uh, my One of my allies is going to Mike with a British armored deck, so lots of heavy tanks, good for that open ground over there. And my other ally is going to the Echo area with a Scandinavian mechanized deck, which also lots of town fighting. On the other team, there is a Soviet armored deck, a which I believe ends up mostly on the right, a Soviet mechanized deck, and a Soviet unspec deck, which you can see on screen right now. Alrighty, so I start out with sort of two packs of stuff. It's sort of this, my ally's British deck is mixed in on this one, but it's a medium tank, a recon vehicle, um, some Fusiliers 90s in the Warrior AA. On this side, I have some extra AA in form of javelins and some extra cheap infantry, my base Fusiliers, as well as a Centurion AVRE, which is the fire support vehicle that fires like basically artillery shells at point blank range. Um, and I have a smaller force over here. I also am starting out, I have a little recon vehicle just to cover this sort of middle open area where there aren't any zones, and some SAS to get into this town real quick. Um, I wasn't paying that much attention to particularly what was going on over the left, so I'm probably not going to talk about it that much. And I was sort of paying attention to what was going on in like the Mike area, but um, I am mostly going to focus on my own play. Um, I think this is the unspec deck. Yeah, the Soviet unspec deck is with the BTRs is going into um, this middle area, and then the mechanized deck ends up over here. I think it's highly possible. So we get moving. Interestingly, neither team has particularly fast starts. There is no air cav out over on the Red 4 side, um, or even helicopter. They have a recon helicopter, and I have on our side. There's just like a recon helicopter and my two SAS in terms of air cav, and even then, like there is some wheeled transports, particularly this pack heading up the middle. But it's both with the armored and the mechanized decks in here. It's a pretty slow opener. The other thing, there was definitely a higher number of points that you could use to buy like deployment points in this game. So spending money was kind of a struggle. And this is also conquest, so you win based on controlling zones rather than destroying units. But my SAS get to this small town here. Oh, I forgot the map is Jungle Law, which has these three sort of lanes, and then Echo, Gulf, Mike are the three contested zones. So these wheeled transports get into this town. my SAS are landed safely, and I put them the furthest forward. This is why I brought the SAS, is because you see these wheeled transports could have potentially beaten my tracked infantry to the town, but my SAS are here already, so they easily dispatch this little probe. And then these infantry are toast because I have more infantry and my warriors to fire support. This player over here, I cannot pronounce that name with all the stuff, is not aggressive enough. Should be getting into this town over here. And my ally with the Scandies is great, just pushing forward and getting full control of the zone. Same here, this force gets pretty much annihilated. Oh yeah, this is the mechanized deck. Pretty sure. Because this is infantry out in the open, and it's pinned up on this one recon squad, which means that the tanks can eat them alive. I push forward into these woods, and then pull back out once I see that there's a lot of BTRs and fire support here. These yaks are bombing this town, but I have plenty of AA to handle this, and I lose one javelin squad, but I managed to mostly dodge the bombing run with my Fusiliers. I'm also non-counter resistant, so I've moved up to this middle woods. These rockets, it's a pair of the M21 Grads, which are pretty cheap rockets, but they are not used effectively throughout the game. Like here, they're bombarding the general area where I am, but they're not concentrated enough to really kill any of my units, and they're also they're not coordinated with the push forward. Well, my units are like lower morale and stuff. My other pack is getting into these woods. Dropping mortars on heavy tanks is pretty ineffective because, one, they can move away pretty easily, and also these are Challenger 2s. They have 23 front armor, so they're not really going to be that effective. So you can see these two AA pieces back here are not useful right now. I was pretty heavily focused on buying CVs for our zones, because as you can see, we're ticking. We have one tick right now. A couple of transports come up and get immediately clapped by the tank and my warriors. And then my next thing, generally attacking this town is pretty difficult, because there's just the fortification advantage. Line of sight is pretty weird here with the hill. And it's also just a big town, so there's a lot, you can stuff a lot of people in here. So I'm trying to push into here because this town is much smaller. Unfortunately, I'm passing in a strange position. Oh, here. So this is a 20-point more tank than my Chieftain Mark 10. My Chieftain Mark 10 got the first shot off. It's losing morale, it's already damaged, and my tank is able to win that fight because it got this first shot off, even though the T-72 was 20 points more expensive. So I think, you know, tanks that hit first, shoot first, and hit first generally win fights. I marked the, what was it? Oh, I marked that I'm bringing in CVs for both there. I didn't notice the CV, which is unfortunate. I also believe I marked these mortars as either. That's where they are. Additionally, this BMPT is a failing of mine because it's in a very good concealed position to kill anything that's trying to assault from here, and I can't see it because I don't have good recon. Everything here, the most is the infantry who are PM, so I should really have brought up like my scimitar further forward, or here, or moved a recon helicopter up or something to get sight on this, and then I would have had a much easier time handling it. But what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to set up an attack on this town with fire support, and this is my allies' bombing run, which comes in and definitely kills 2 squads, damages them, so softens it up, which really allows us to take the town. Now that we've gotten Golf neutralized and then Echo and Mike capped, we have a 2-point tick going up, so we'll catch up to their points early on fairly quickly. This is a strangely targeted rocket barrage that is targeting this hill behind the zone where I'm not likely to have that much stuff, particularly at this point. Alright, so I start pushing across. My warriors are basically ignoring the PMPT, which is not great because it will kill them eventually, but I'm more focused on getting my infantry into this town. So I'm pushing forward with that. And using my warriors to do damage. I mark this as a BMPT, mostly to see if anybody notices it and has a way to kill it. But at this point, I've pretty effectively taken this down, because I've got overwhelming weight of infantry. I've killed most of their infantry in the town, so this is good. This town provides a lot of. It's not a huge. I don't really utilize it that well. Like, particularly from our side, if you have some like ATGM squads in the block this Mortars trophies in, you can work well down the road in this valley, or some like main pads can really extend your AA defenses. But it's mostly better as it's a much better way to defend, like the Gulf, this forest and mountain here, and prevent entrance to it. As well as just it protects the flank in Mike. It's just handy. Some bombs come in, but my troops aren't under threat, so it's pretty easy to just move them out of danger. We're pushing up pretty much everywhere on the map. See here, this is a very AI move I expect you'll recognize. Tanks come into the range of the town, flank shot from the law, first takes out the first tank. And then because they're panicked and the tank is being able to shoot, it's a rough time. I'm bringing my Harrier, but only manages to stun that, and then the squad does manage to get the final shot off, and I'm pulling it back. I brought up some SAS to reinforce this town, because they're my only like fast reinforcements. Additionally, the SAS, with the AA coverage they provide, is pretty handy. Some infantry come forward, and some Spetsnaz, which is concerning, but they're forced to unload pretty far away because of my scimitar. But they definitely could have advanced closer. The Spetsnaz come forward, and this is pretty dangerous. My infantry do have the advantage of being in the town. I'm still scared of the rockets. They don't stop to shoot. And the advantage of my infantry being stationary and in the town. Like, yeah, there was some fire support, but these guys are 15 points, and Spetsnaz are like 30, 35, I think. And they probably would have won that fight on their own. Just from the advantage of the town. that much pressure coming from the middle here, and I'm as well not attacking either. I'm sort of thinking, or hoping that with the armored player we can work our way up and take Lima and sort of bypass this town entirely. Because if you push up, Lima is hard to take because it's on this sort of ridge line, and it's, infantry can walk up the cliffs anywhere, but vehicles can only go up in certain places, which makes it difficult to take. So it's just very close to their spawn zone. But I was sort of hoping that if we could take this hill and maybe this town, we could just cut off this town, which should be a strong point, and ignore it. I brought up some supply helicopters to heal my infantry squads and also this tank, because it's a way to get more, you know, like bang for your buck, value for your money. So once they're healed up, I like move forward again. And if you can save your infantry or just any unit and then heal them with supply, it's super cost effective. It's like getting these units for free. These cheap bombers don't stand a chance against the network we have. We also were helped, the Scandi player had two Beacon 1As, which were used a lot. I think he also had, I feel like he had Mortars or something at some point. Used pretty effectively. Oh, I have also, I feel like, yeah, I have brought up Mortars. And here you can see this BTR-70 is shooting at some APCs. I get my Mortars active, but I'm not firing shells, even though I probably should be because it's pretty low. I'm firing smoke, because that immediately protects my allies. Can't shoot the smoke. I also marked where they're firing from. I think I'm bringing in a plane to kill them. I want to see how effective it is. I was looking out for this BMPT to aid this crossing, but I don't recognize that there's two BMPTs and most of the stuff here. So how did they do? Oh, all but one. This attack is pretty unsupported, but the territorials are cheap because they're reserve infantry. But it's still not a great use. Like, I don't think wasting points in this way is ever particularly valuable. I'm bringing Fusiliers. My Fusiliers 90 that I healed up this bridge. I'm hoping to be able to use the smoke to catch this BMPT unawares at close range with my rockets. I've also brought my Chieftain over to cover anything from this direction. And it kills that APC. Just have some problem between the Spetsnaz and also just this Beryusa causes all sorts of things to it. My Sea Harriers are out. I was looking for radars, particularly looking for these Tors. Unfortunately, smoke clears, and my Fusiliers are toast. Same with this one. It's not. Again, a mistake of mine. I really should have gotten some infantry, some good infantry, into these woods, and then pushed them up to here, because that would have really cut off Lima even further, allowed these tanks to move up, and we could have really encircled this position. I also used smoke to smoke off these tanks to cover the retreat of my chieftain. really heavily, I would say, hotel is particularly hard to take just because of it's either coming down cliffs, which is very hard to do, or big open fields around it in this town. So, um, and even here, these two ridge lines are also very strong defensive positions. The forces here, the Challenger, the Lynx Toe 2 are handling the tanks, but there's enough infantry support. And these Strellas are going to kill this Toe as well. And this is just such a hard way to attack because, one, it's not near any objective, but it's so much closer to the opponent's spawn than it is to ours. So it's just so hard to reinforce effectively. So here, I saw there's some fire coming from here. So I'm just shooting mortars. Bringing up a recon helicopter, which really helps me see a whole lot more than I was previously. I think I'm doing. So I think I've talked about this before. Of you can queue up fire orders for your mortars and other artillery. So you see how they shot a volley and then they immediately started reactivating again? This is a combination of me. When I gave this orders, I queued up a bunch of fire orders on this position. Which is really messing up all this stuff. And then because mortars have a very, very small aim time and can be reloaded really quickly, they fire, their time between salvos is so much lower than, like regular artillery pieces. So here, like, I'm immediately shooting at these, spotted by its trees. Unfortunately, I didn't get off target. It's also just armored enough to make it hard to hit them with mortars. But I am lightly tickling them. So the queuing up artillery fire, but particularly mortar fire, allows you to do some pretty cool things. I'm just bringing up more infantry, more IFVs, some recon infantry, more SAS here. I can't remember. I might have been trying to get them up here or into this area. So move my mortars after firing those volleys in case there's any counter battery fire coming their way, which I wasn't really expecting, but it's always good to be safe. Oh yeah, so there are two beacons, though using my fob is a bit rude. Didn't notice that in game. I didn't recognize, at least at this moment, how little there was, because I can't see it. But this is probably where I should have pushed in, and I didn't. So that's bad play for me. I was thinking, like, if it was you guys who had the artillery and we were on voice comms, you're like, hey, I'm gonna shell the hell out of this town, and then you can push in. That probably would have helped. So here, I put smoke down from my mortars to cover the SAS crossing this sort of gap from these tanks. I see this infantry coming forward. and I immediately start shooting at it. And I'm anticipating where the infantry are going to be, but I'm doing it multiple times. So I'm like sort of walking the mortars back in where they're shooting in queued fire moves. So they're here, and they push forward again, and there's another barrage where I don't have sight line on these guys now, so, and my third barrage is a little forward. You see how I like walked the artillery back with their expected motion, which I was pretty proud of, and I killed 14 dudes. So, and also they're all completely panicked and stuff. I am still pulling back my infantry, but they probably, if there wasn't like these fire support units here, these two squads could probably beat these two squads now. Move my warriors up, and I'm going to lose them to the recon and the tank, unfortunately. Because they're inside and they were shooting the Strelky. I'm also losing infantry here, machine guns and stuff, just as I'm trying to cross them some of these sequence. And I really should have used smoke to cover this advance rather than trying to shells shooting at them. Because as you've seen, smoke has been very useful. My mortar's been effective, so I brought up another pack, so that's a whole cart of mortars right there. These are definitely, yeah, so there's also Amos, which are ish feeds double barrels. Because we can see stuff, they're targeting. Here, I have a fire mission shooting at this BTR. And then I have another one queued up immediately for this central town. So you see how fast they can get a barrage off, or to get a barrage off, and then how quick and how much just like shells they can put out. Like these mortars, I've had them not all game but a while, and they've shot like 300 shells out. I figured these infantry were there, so I'm just shelling that area. And right, and even though mortars aren't individual, their shells are individually pretty weak. These particularly, these are the 81mm mortars, so they have like 3 AG power. And if you compare that to, say, like a Beacon, which has 7, that's not that great. But the mortars are able to just shoot so much and so quickly, particularly in the big stats. And they're cheap. They're only 30 points. So here, I'm starting to think about getting set up for a attack onto this town. So I moved my Centurion ADRE up along some 5-point boxes to see if I could like get my fire support in line of sight in the woods, which I can if I get rid of this helicopter. So I start bringing up my AA, which I probably should have brought up earlier. Here I brought in the Harrier GR7 to kill these light vehicles that were moving up, and I brought in my Sea Harriers to protect it from seed, or to protect from AA. And then now they're here, I have other stuff. So we kill that bucket one. And lose that Sea Harrier, mostly to these Iglas, which was unfortunate. I definitely could have been more careful with both of those planes. I'm bringing up some SAS just to cover this woods because I don't want anything sneaking through. This is a somewhat better rocket barrage, and I definitely have stuff here, just in isolation. Everything else. So my stuff is getting stunned and painted, not actually really damaged. This is a weird attack. There's a bunch of Photoshopi in 5 boxes coming down the road, and I literally have just a couple of autocannon recon units. So these are like 20. This is like 35 points worth of stuff, and this is like it's like 60. But because the transports are so weak and there's no support at all, my autocannons will kill the transports and then just back up outside of range of the infantry's RPGs. Bring these helicopters over to use their machine guns. Because we control Echo, Golf, and Mike, we're getting a 3-point tick, so we're getting lots of points. My challenge marker comes up, turns on its gun, kills that helicopter, and goes back to dormant. So here, I've been getting a lot of infantry. Let's see if I can find them. And I have some Fusiliers 90, I have some SAS, but I also mostly have regular Fusiliers. And you may ask, Phelan, why do you have regular Fusiliers? You always tell us that the law is terrible, and the law is terrible. And also, I have Fusiliers 90. So why am I using regular Fusiliers? So, first I have a mechanized deck, so I have a lot of infantry slots. So I have room to spare. And you also get, like, you don't get, like, Royal Marines or Gurkhas or stuff like that. The other thing is, well, I mostly have Fusilier 90s, and that's because I used all 3 cards of them. But in particular, regular Fusiliers compared to Fusilier 90s are basically the same in terms of fighting infantry. Really what you're paying for the 5 points on the Fusiliers 90 is the Law 80, which is absolutely worth it. But I'm going into this town, I'm mostly expecting to be fighting infantry and light vehicles, in which case the Law can pretty much handle it. Alright, and this is also where I'm making, really the whole point of this video is this one attack into this town. So I have mortars. I have plenty of infantry, because I have 4 squads here, 6, 8, 10. I have 12 squads of infantry ready to assault this town. I also have plenty of fire support. I have Chieftain Mark 10. I have 2 Centurion AVREs. I have all these 5-point boxes. I have the Scimitar, and I have 3 stacks of 6 warriors. So what I'm doing, I took my mortars and I queued up a bunch of smoke fire on this. And I'm basically smoking along this axis here because it will allow me to move these, particularly I'm trying to move stuff up along this area without this tank and get a flank attack. I'm also basically trying to smoke like around where the Spetsnaz squads are, and then sort of a symmetrical shape on the other side. Because what I want to do is I want to have a front where it's my infantry going forward against whatever infantry they have in this small front, and all my concentrated fire support. And then I don't have to worry about whatever fire support they have and extra infantry and all that jazz. So I'm trying to like narrow the front so that particularly my Centurion AVREs. You see, these start getting shot at, Centurion AVREs start opening up, and boom, enormous amounts of damage from my second class. And I'm charging forward to get into the town. And my fire support, once stuff gets revealed, shooting at my infantry. Generally, my fire support is not working. It's sort of weird because these vets knives are being able to shoot out of the smoke. So they're definitely hurting my ears, the squad at least. But I get squads that need attack. I'm also not super worried these guys are attacking. I'm leaving stuff in reserve. Leaving my more expensive SAS. And then at this point the smoke sort of starts to hinder me because I want to get my fires going. And it's having issues. But you see, once the fires opens up on something, it's dead. That's how it's with infantry tanks, and then my stuff. And also these vets tanks can't hurt my tanks and stuff. Some more infantry, yeah, some more warriors. And at this point, yeah, my infantry in the town. Start moving this infantry forward. I forgot about these guys. I'm getting these Fusiliers. Once they get into this town, they can handle this tank super easily. And there are reinforcements coming up. But it's really about me trying to get my stuff in. Once I secure the town. And these infantry are still in view of VRE, so I can shoot his machine gun, shoot his main gun, and direct them. This helicopter comes forward, get the gun back on again, deal with it. There was some friendly fire shelling from my allies' mortars and my Fusiliers, but we just have so much fire superiority. We've cleared it out. I'm starting to bring this force forward as well. And I think at this point I also start to bring my SAS up pretty soon. Start moving these guys. So you see, the law is perfectly fine against, you know, like these little 5-point boxes at point blank range. So once I spot, oh, there's some more infantry here, I'm trying to I've basically been trying to make the determination that, oh, there's enough here that I have to just push them back. Here, I back my warriors up from the Zappery because they don't have AT. Again, sort of out of range, they can flamethrow me and use the gun. Good position. Fire support comes in. Mortars. These helicopters try to land in my SAS get and challenge or hinder them. These bombs very much don't do that much. Some heavy artillery was coming out the back of this town. Beacons. Here I do it. I think it's a smart thing. These two infantry squads, they're panicked, they're low on health, they're out of AT, so I pull them back and swap them with my fresh squads from the warriors, and then we win the game. So that's really what I wanted to show you guys. But I was very happy with my play. I was very happy with that last attack on that town, my use of mortars, and hopefully you learned something from this. So see you around.